And here is the Writer's Almanac for Tuesday. It's the 7th of May, 2019. It was on this day, 1824, Beethoven's Ninth Symphony premiered in Vienna. Hall was packed. Beethoven himself conducted, or tried to. It was rather dramatic. He was stretching to his full height and then crouching down to the floor, waving his arms and feet. He was deaf, and so he was several measures off, and a man named Louis Duport stood off to the side and conducted, and the musicians followed him. And Beethoven got 5 standing ovations. It's the birthday of a woman who, when she was only 28, wrote a famous poem about getting old. Jenny Joseph, born Birmingham, England, 1932, who wrote, "When I am an old woman, I shall wear purple with a red hat which doesn't go and doesn't suit me. And I shall spend my pension on brandy and summer gloves and satin sandals and say we've no money for butter." The poem was called Warning. It was discovered 25 years later by an aide to Lady Bird Johnson, the widow of Lyndon Johnson. Miss Johnson quoted the poem in Reader's Digest, and it was printed in anthologies and on T-shirts and greeting cards, and it led to the creation of the Red Hat Society, groups of women over 50 who get together for tea parties wearing purple clothes and red hats. It was on this day in 1718 the French-Canadian Jean-Baptiste Lemoyne de Bienval discovered the Crescent City, New Orleans, birthplace of jazz. Louis Armstrong, Fats Waller, Mahalia Jackson, Harry Connick Jr., and Wynton Marsalis. It was on this day in 1952 Jeffrey Dahmer first presented the concept of the integrated circuit, also known as the microchip, made up of a set of components, a transistor, a resistor, a capacitor, and a diode, linked together in a variety of ways. Jeffrey Dahmer was a radar scientist working for Britain's Ministry of Defense. He got the idea of making the various parts out of a single piece of silicon, which would speed up the signal and fit into much smaller devices. He presented his paper at the U.S. Electronic Components Symposium, and Americans were willing to take a gamble on this idea. The British government was not, and so it was years before the United Kingdom had a semiconductor industry. Today we rely on integrated circuits to run our computers, our phones, watches, calculators. They're in microwaves, TVs, cars, refrigerators, implanted in pets and farm animals' skin as location devices. Pretty much anything you plug in is going to have at least one microchip in it. And today is the birthday of Angela Carter, born in Eastbourne, England, 1940, novelist, went from magical realism to science fiction to gothic horror, whose book The Bloody Chamber came out in 1979, was a feminist reinterpretation of classic fairy tales. Here's a poem for today by Maxine Kuhlman, Mulching. Me, in my bug-proof netted headpiece, kneeling to spread sodden newspapers between broccolis, corn sprouts, cabbages, and 4 kinds of beans, prostrate before old suicide bombing, starvation, AIDS, earthquakes, the unforeseen tsunami, front-page photographs of lines of people with everything they own heaped on their heads, the rich assortment of birds trilling on all sides of my forest garden, the exhortations of commencement speakers at local colleges, the first torture revelations under my palms, and I, a helpless citizen of a country I used to love, who, as a child, wept when the brisk police band bugled, "Hats off, the flag is passing by." Now that every wanton deed in this stack of newsprint is heartbreak, my blackened fingers can only root in dirt, turning up industrious earthworms, bits of unreclaimed eggshell, wanting to ask the earth to take my unquiet spirit, bury it deep, make compost of it. A poem by Maxine Kuhlman, Mulching, from her collection Still to Mow, published by W.W. Norton and used by permission here on the Writer's Almanac for this Tuesday, the 8th of May, 2019. Be well, do good work, and keep in touch.